Congratulations! You've unlocked All Apologies, a show about apology tours and demanding satisfaction. I'm your host, Trucker Andy, and with me, as always, is your co-host, Joe Sixpack. Joe, what's going on?
Hey, welcome everybody. As always, I want to remind you that you can go to allapologies.com to find links to our Patreon, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, Pinterest, Grindr, political manifestos. So please go there and like, comment, subscribe, demand apologies, issue apologies, or refuse apologies, whatever the case may be.
I like that we talked about this, and I said, if you could maybe concoct some kind of like plug copy, that would be good. When you start throwing in shit that we don't have, that's going to be confusing to people.
Okay, we don't have a Grindr profile. I have to assume people get jokes sometimes.
Yeah. But out of the gate, be more succinct. Good start. Try again.
Thanks for your feedback.
All right, I've been drinking all day. This is an exciting episode because first clip. This is a specific exciting episode.
69 dudes.
It's episode 69. So of course we had to have an extra special guest for a sexy episode. We have a sexy guest. Please welcome to the All Apologies podcast, New Girl. Hey, look at this, everybody.
Welcome, New Girl. Whoa. What could you tell me about the your tattoo here? Is that like pagan or Wiccan or?
I literally just collect skulls. That's all it is. I have a fascination for animal skulls.
I like your tattoos. Do they mean anything?
It was just reminded me of Blade when it's like, I see those tattoos and it reminds me of A, you're a musician, or B, you're a tattoo artist, or C, you dated a tattoo artist. Are any of those things true?
No, they're not actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't draw for shit, and no, I've dated losers, but never a tattooist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're not too much artists, but we are losers. So
I'd probably go more down the daddy issue route, to be honest.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, I wanted to explain to some people. Most of our fans come from the Dabbleverse, and New Girl is very aware of everything that happens in the Dabbleverse, and I'm pretty impressed by it. How you keep up with everything. But we kind of serendipitously, is that how you say that, Joe?
Yeah, nailed it.
I'm drunk, so bear with me. But a couple weeks ago, Carl just happened to go live when he never goes live on YouTube, but he accidentally went live so that people could chat. And this is on the heels of DabbleCon. So we were kind of rounding up all of Helga's shenanigans because New Girl is partnered up with JJ Dabbles, who runs that reality show, The Trainwrecks. He produces that show for Helga and Lisa. And Helga made an appearance at DabbleCon, and everybody was thrilled to see her. Yeah, it was great. But she kind of maybe like overstepped a little bit. So we were recapping all of Helga's shenanigans there, and JJ was kind of distancing himself from Helga because of the fallout from that. So we're watching JJ sort of throw Helga under the bus in a way. And Ed, if you want to go to my, I think it's WATP1, this was why we started interacting, because of this clip on WATP.
So
Can somebody say one way or another whether this person on the right is a guy or a girl before I say she's hot?
New girl? No idea.
Sounds like she's a girl.
Sounds like a girl to me, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah. So I was just like, I mean, obviously I knew, but I'm just like, on the train wreck, you never know, because Ed, if you can go to the
In
slides,
2024, you never know.
yeah,
Right.
right. I know Lucy has a lower voice. You know, it's more likely that you would mistake Lucy for a guy on Trainwreck. But yeah, because you go back in the Trainwreck thumbnails and you see stuff like this. Add slide 1. It's like, okay, I see what's going on over here. You go right to slide 2. Just go right through the slides, please, Ed. So it's like you see things like this popping up on YouTube, and maybe go ahead to the next one, Ed. But you know, you're like, well, maybe I need to ask before I say. I was like, wow, that's the hottest guest that they've ever had on the train wreck.
So wait, let
The
me.
bad bunch.
Yeah. So then I have to ask. So are they real?
Yes, they are. Thank
Oh, I
you.
was talking about your balls.
Wow. You got me there. I'll take that.
No.
So
Anyway, no, great to have you. You've really improved the aesthetic of our show for sure. So
I can't tell you how thrilled I am that you're here.
2 sets of twins in one show.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we needed another set of twins. Yep.
Yeah. So I say that on the show, and so let's go to the second clip, Ed, because New Girl's like, you know, come on, Andy, don't be a shithead. Obviously I'm a female, but yeah, go ahead, Ed. Play the next one.
Fell apart. John O'Reilly, nice work, Lucy. P.S. You're super hot.
Thank you.
We don't like that kind of talk around here. New girl. I'm a girl, Andy. Oh, new girl's here.
I'm an Andy girl.
I know. I have to read that out
I'm a
loud.
new fan.
All right. There you go.
Got that cleared up.
Get off Rob Saul's show. Get on this show. New review girl is what
It
you
was
should.
train wreck.
It wasn't Rob Sal's train wreck.
Oh, whatever.
How dare you
Sorry.
besmirch your name?
Oh God, yeah.
My
Very
bad.
rude.
You can always count on Chris with a good drop, can't you?
Yeah.
Rob Saul, God.
Oh,
So then-
I would never go. I listen. I will go on Jake Hudson because he's cute and he's sweet, but I will never go on Rob Saul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you on Jake Hudson, but that was when New Girl started adding me on Twitter, and I haven't really been active on Twitter until she started reaching out to me. Now suddenly I'm on there all the time.
I never even knew you had it before because I hadn't seen you tagged in anything. So I thought, well, I'm gonna seek you out. But I
Right.
sent you a message then thought, well, if he doesn't see it, I'm gonna put the super chat on so I can verify.
Yeah,
Because I was like, all these WATP fans are gonna be questioning if I'm a boy now.
I know. So she starts adding me on Twitter, like you really should apologize to me on your show. And I was like, oh, hey, please come on, and I will apologize face to face. So
Mhm.
but I really think that the biggest offense that I need to apologize for is for thinking that you would go on Rob Saul's show, because nobody should ever go on that show. So I apologize for thinking that you were a guy. Obviously not a guy.
Fuck all that.
Yeah, yeah, but
You were
Never-
forgiven.
never go on Rob Saul's show.
God,
No.
no.
Only
So
dogs go on that.
Yeah, and I want to ask how you first found the Dabbleverse, because a lot of people get into it via being a Howard Stern fan, and they see Stuttering John, or being an Opie and Anthony fan, and they try and find out what's going on with Opie, and that's sort of the back door into finding you Google those guys, and suddenly Carl shows up, and they're like, look what these two losers are doing now, and that's how people find WATP. So I'm curious how you found the Dabbleverse.
I actually used to listen to a podcast that they covered and trashed, but I'd already stopped listening to the podcast because there'd been a bit of drama. So I was looking on Reddit for a bit of gossip, and someone said, oh, this show covered them a while ago. And I was like, well, I've got to listen to it. So I listened to the episode. It was great. And then they started talking about John, and I was like, who the hell is this? But I was like, it was funny. It was back a couple of years ago as well. You know, when John was still funny to listen to and he wasn't so pathetic. And so I was like, okay. And then he was talking about Patty C cups and all that. And I was like, oh, now I need to like keep listening to the shows. And then that was it. I was in a deep hole, and I work like 10-hour days, and I listened to podcasts all day. So I got through a lot of it really fast. And then I finally started watching it on YouTube, which then led me into like all the other shows. Blind Mike is one of my other favorites. So yeah, it kind of went from there. So them trashing one of my favorite shows got me in there.
What show was that?
Oh, it was a true crime one. I'm a girl, obviously. We love the true crime podcast.
Yep. Okay. Well, that makes total sense. This was something that JJ, who produces the train wreck, you guys are kind of like squatted up now, and you guys were talking about possibly rebranding your name because
this is all your fault.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was the thing, but mainly like with the first.
I think he's really just pointing out obvious problem.
Yeah. Ed, pull up that other clip, the clip 2. I think. I mean, it's the New Girl clip. When I hear New Girl, I think of this. Do they have this in the UK?
Yes, I love it. It's great. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even think of that, honestly, right? So the name was, I never had like a pseudonym or whatever you want to say on YouTube when I was watching the shows because I didn't want to get in the chat. Like that wasn't my thing. I was happy just sitting back. But then I went onto the Discord for WATP and then I was like, oh, I don't want to go in on my real name because I've seen all the weird people in the
yeah. There's a lot of fucking creeps in there.
And I was just sat there and it was like name. And I was like, oh God. And you just panic pick. I was like, oh, well, I'm new here. I'm a girl. So it just made sense. And then it went from there. And I was like, everyone kept saying, you're not a new girl anymore after like 6 months in the Discord. I was like, I had to prove I was a girl over and over and over.
Because there's no girls there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the craziest.
Good-looking girl.
That's the craziest thing. It's just like you're easily like the best looking woman in the Dabbleverse as far from what I've seen.
I will tell you there are some secret girl chatters out there.
Oh, okay. Okay, I want to know who they are because I'm a creep too. Yeah. So, but that was the other thing. I didn't even think of this part when you're just like, oh yeah, my screen name. You're just like, oh, I'm newly a girl. That's why you thought I was a guy on the train wreck.
It never crossed my mind until you mistook me for a trans person.
Well, it didn't even cross my mind until you brought it up. But then I was messaging with JJ and I was like, yeah, that's kind of a problem. It's the way that like Lil Wayne and Lil Bow Wow, it's like these guys grow up and it's now suddenly Lil Bow Wow has to be 40. Bow Wow. Yeah, it's like eventually you're not new anymore. So the new is the problem. So add the screen name bit. This is where I was trying to come up with a rebranding. So I was trying to think of what your other screen names should be, and the new is the maybe you just lose that and just you could be N-word girl. So that maybe that's more of a problem, right?
That seems problematic in other ways.
Yeah. All right, so I threw that one out, and then I came up with a couple other ones. You can move right along, Ed. No, I mean that I said take that one off the list, Ed. That was not supposed to make it onto the list. I threw that one out immediately. So the next, all right. So then the show, it was Jessica Day. Jessica Day is the girl on New Girl. So I was like, okay, maybe it could just be Jess Knight, but this is the Dabbleverse, right? So if you're going to use the word Knight, it has to be spelled like this. For John's daughter, son.
That we're skewing into Rob Saul territory. You don't want to be Knight anything.
Going back into the trans lane here, though. Like,
right.
Oh, right, yeah. That might be working. So I guess I'll leave it to you to come up with your own new screen.
I actually quite like the Jess Knight, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you could take any of my suggestions, but
leave the K out.
The Bone Maker is probably my favorite, though.
That's the Cardiff and Tukey thing, though. Everything with Tuesday night is with a K.
Oh yeah.
Joe's probably not aware of that, but that's.
I should.
Oh, that was going to be the other game I wanted to play. F, Marry, Kill, New Girl, Tukey, Cardiff, and OJ.
I've actually only ever spoken to OJ, and he's nice. Apart from saying I have big voluptuous tits on his stream.
He's just speaking truth to power.
Right, well, I'm going to marry 2K because who wouldn't want to spend the rest of their life with 2K? I'll fuck OJ and I'll kill Cardiff because fuck the potato.
That's the exact right answer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
he loves you more than a friend, so
yes,
it makes sense. Mm-hmm.
So, because New Girl is from the UK, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to cover Jimmy Carr because we covered Louis C.K. and when we did that, one of our listeners reached out to me and said, "Oh, if you're gonna talk about that, maybe you want to take a look at Jimmy Carr because he has a similar reputation, and he has a reputation for a few other things." But Joe was nice enough to do the heavy lifting for the main episode proper. So, Joe, if you want to take over,
sure. So I'm a longtime fan of Jimmy Carr. So Jimmy Carr is a stand-up comedian. For anybody who doesn't know, we'll set the stage here a little bit. He's got at least 3 specials on Netflix, I think more. He's also notably the host of the show 8 out of 10 Cats. Is that still on in the UK?
Yes.
Is it just rerun or
as far as I know? I don't watch a lot of TV these days, but I think so.
So 8 out of 10 Cats, which is like a survey show. We'll see a little of that later. So I don't think I have to explain it too much because we'll get to it. So yeah, like I said, I'm a big fan of Jimmy Carr simply because of like the joke count for the most part. It's like one-liner, like one-liner. I view him like kind of the British Anthony Jeselnik, if that kind of lets people know a little bit about him here. But
I said the same thing, Joe. New Girl, do you know who Anthony Jeselnik is?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's okay. I'd encourage you to
little homework.
No, it's that biting kind of a lot of dead baby type of jokes, but in the funniest way possible.
Right.
So it's really biting humor in the style of a Jimmy Carr. So,
offensive. He zigs when you think he'll zag, and just so many jokes. Very prolific writing. Now, in this day and age, I don't know if he does all of his own writing. There's so many jokes. I would be blown away if he did all of his own writing because there is
talking about Jimmy or Anthony.
Both. They're very similar in that way. Jimmy's it's just like so quick and so funny. But let's just set the stage a little. If you don't know who Jimmy Carr is, my clip 1, let's just set the tone here.
What is the most offensive joke that you've ever written?
If only Africa had more mosquito nets, then every year we could save millions of mosquitoes from dying needlessly of AIDS.
So that's the green room with Paul Provenza. Paul Provenza is the host and stand-up comedian asking the question there. So that just gives you a kind of a taste of what we're getting into, or what he's very much known for. You think he takes the stage and he's very put together, suit and tie, but then the comedy is all dark and offensive. So when Andy said, let's do Jimmy Carr, I start diving into it. And at first I was just like, oh God, I like Jimmy Carr. I don't want to do anything to like, to take him down or whatever. So I started diving into it, and Andy brought up that he was kind of like, an alleged pervert for, like being in a dressing room at a charity event. So let's find out.
Well, this is what was pitched to me. Like I said, we talked about Louis, and then somebody said, hey, look at Jimmy Carr because of that. Mm-hmm. So that's when you were digging in and you were asking me why I suggested this. That's what I suggested you look for.
Sure.
But I hadn't even heard of this until I thought you was just talking about the tax store. until you brought it up. That's how much of a not big deal it is. Like,
and I would call this not a big deal, but before we call, so some of it is, but I think what will be revealed here is that Jimmy Carr's part in this is really not a factor. But anyway, before we shit all over what we're about to talk about here. So in this first segment, this is back in 2015, Jimmy Carr emceed an annual charity event that was held at the President's Club in the UK. In 2018, 3 years later, a Financial Times reporter went undercover to expose the quote unquote boys club that was the President Club charity event. And now we're going to link the biggest celebrity we can to this dirty, dirty event. So this is clip 2.
I'm Madison Marriage. I'm a reporter at the Financial Times, and this week I'm going undercover at a secretive charity dinner held every year at the Dorchester Hotel in London for men only. It's typically included some of the most important names in business, finance, sports, and the media in the past, and it's been running for over 30 years.
The men were initially quite decorous, and things very quickly took a turn for the worse. Some of the behaviour was pretty shocking and depressing, if I'm honest to witness.
So I was watching your clips in order. I had no idea what this was about, but when I see that and you're like, oh, well, it was men only. Well, then how did she get in? Where it was just like, oh, welcome, Helga man, come right in. It's like, this sounds pretty damning and gay, but
it's funny you say that, Andy, because I was just like, well, of course she's the one that is going to cover this, because the only, like, if it was affirmative action or something, it would be Helga Mann walking into this like event. It was, hey guys, I'm here to host this event. It's just like, so it's just like, is she a good reporter, or is she just kind of like, it's always just like, who's the best looking chick we have on staff here that we can send in?
And take this subtitle down. Respect our guests. You can leave mine up. That's fine. That was a one-off joke.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm sorry. I was just going with the flow, guys.
That was great.
My fault.
Okay, so let's just talk a little. So I don't know how much more we have to really talk about this, or I don't know how much I get into it later. This is a huge event, right? It's really like a who's who of guys. I don't know when, obviously this was also like pre-Me Too, kind of Time's Up scenarios and everything like that. This is like very much rich men who have a lot of money, and we want to make these very powerful guys comfortable. We want to get them drunk. We want to loosen those wallets and get all the money we can.
Fucking guy.
So throw up the qualifications here. Here's a job description for the hostesses at the event. The first woman who worked at the event for 3 years said the criteria were always tall, slim, pretty, and talkative. Talkative thing was really important, and the idea behind that was for the girls to talk to the men at this party and entertain them. This was an odd thing because the job was just to be company for these men, not pouring drinks, no serving. It was just to stand there looking pretty and providing company. Now, the other thing that I read about this as I did a little bit of research is like a prostitution ring 100% infiltrated this. There were like outside, like, let's go across the street and we can do whatever we want. That was definitely happening at some point. But it is, I think it was like 330 men and like 110 women. And so when you have that large of a segment, you're going to have some women who are just there to do a job, and some women who are there to make connections and find a rich husband, and some women who are there to sell themselves for whatever they can get.
I know. It's a convention for old men in finance. They're not cool.
I can say, as a woman, I used to do not the same kind of job, but similar. I worked in a VIP club that footballers and that, and the description was young, pretty, because you want them to spend money. No, it's a little bit different because I was in a nightclub and not but you don't go into that job expecting anything other than men to be disgusting pigs. I knew, but I would make like a few £1,000 a week just in tips because the rich guys who like pretty girls. You don't go into it like it wasn't nice when men grabbed you, but
you weren't shocked.
Yeah, you're not shocked. No, you can't walk into that job and then turn around and go, "Oh, the men was touching me and looking at me." Well, that's what you're there for. And if you don't,
that's why it's just like, oh, we weren't there to pour drink. No, that's not why you're there. Do you want to switch out kegs and bring cases of beer up a flight of stairs? Because
they want
for that.
They want sexy, classy sex workers, and that's what it is. They are sex workers that go there, whether you're having sex or just fondling or whatever. You are in some way a sex worker. You are paid to be a woman in that area, and so I have no sympathy for anyone who walks out. Like, you're an intelligent woman, you don't go in there.
Oh, I had no idea.
And this wasn't even Jimmy Carr's. What was he? He was like emceeing the event, right?
Right.
Is that what this really comes down? All right. Yeah, I want you to move on with this because I think that's where it's headed.
He was walking through the changing rooms apparently while he was getting ready, but I don't see if that was. I just, I find it dead hard to believe women, and I know I shouldn't say that, but when it comes to things like this, I really do find it hard to believe women.
I'm glad you're here to say that because investigative reporting is horseshit. So, Joe, why don't you move on to the?
Yeah, we'll get a little bit more into that towards the end here, but it's definitely glad to have you here, new girl, because it would just be old white men defending other old white men if you were not here.
And also, if you do another VIP event like that, can I get an invite, please?
Throw up the dress code, Ed. Here's an image of typical. Now, this was 30 years. This had been going on for 30 years. So Jimmy Carr hosted it in 2015. It only went 3 more years after that before this kind of who was the old in 2018 the PM in the UK.
God, don't ask me. I don't even know who it is now.
It doesn't matter, but it was a woman. Point being, yeah, that's right. Ed, the dress code here. There you go. So this is, I'm sure it changed a little bit year after year, but when you show up and they give you the uniform, I think you kind of get the idea of what's going on here before all of the guests arrive.
Hey,
okay?
Joe, I wore a red polo shirt to Target, and everybody kept asking me where it was. What? You don't dress for the job that you want, I guess, is my advice.
May I, just for a moment, I do not want to say that any of us believe that just because you are dressed in a certain way that gives you carte blanche as a white male to do whatever you want.
Get out of here, nerd.
Don't be such a Karen, Ed.
we all know that that's the first step to consent is the way you left the house. Okay. Okay. So in clip 5 here, here's an anecdotal testimony of one of about 110 women at the event. Okay. I felt uncomfortable around him. This is about Jimmy Carr. And his behavior made me think to myself that it was a bit weird. The girls felt he was ogling them as they got dressed. There was no reason for him to be in there, but it seemed that he was using his power and celebrity status to go wherever he liked. It did feel uncomfortable, and a lot of the girls spoke about it. A lot of the girls, like one other. Lots of other girls felt the same. One other. He was a lot older than all the girls, and I haven't been able to watch him on TV since. Ooh, you have a kitty. I'm a cat fan, so.
Yeah.
Oh, is she just black? Ooh.
Yeah, I've got another one. He's exactly the same, just bigger.
Both black. Nice, love it. We love black pussy on this show. Okay, so
my reaction to that is that perception is reality in 2024. So I'm sure there was somebody that was there thinking what that said, but there was probably another woman there that was like, oh my God, there's Jimmy Carr. I hope he buys me dinner and slips me a digit. Yeah. And Jimmy Carr is thinking, oh, I wish this 7 would stop talking to me so I could go talk to that 8. So everybody's thinking their own thing. And if you're thinking he looks like a creep because he's here, somebody else is glad that he's there, and Jimmy's trying to just get it over with and get.
I like that we said they was watching them get dressed into the see-through dresses.
Yeah, right.
What more could you have been showing in that dress?
Yeah.
And
So-
do you know what? Jimmy Carr, he was a virgin till he was 26. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's having a little look. Now he's older and he's got a bit of something to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said you've seen him live. What was that like?
It was good. Yeah. I think for me, the atmosphere in the crowd wasn't great for that night. He was great, but when you just get like a dud crowd, it was just one of them. But
yeah.
I'd see him again, but he does do a lot of crowd work, which I'm not a huge fan of crowd work. So,
but to come back to this a little bit, so like that testimonial there for every one girl who's like, I'm uncomfortable around him, you're right. And that was said in one of the articles that I read about this, is like, for every one girl that's like, why is Jimmy Carr back here, there's 10 other girls like throwing themselves, like they
That's
said
such his dick.
yeah, one girl's up on a table like lifting her shirt up and stuff like that, like making an ass out of herself and everything. So I mean, there's a large sample size of
present company excluded.
Okay, so just reporting this in the Financial Times isn't enough, Andy. This lady has to get the word out and expose these generous, charitable sexual predators. So she goes on the show on The Independent to be interviewed, and this is a clip from that.
I was warned that the men might be annoying.
People are presumably getting steadily more tipsy and then drunk, and what's the sort of physicality, or what was your experience of?
I was groped several times, and I know that there were numerous other hostesses who said the same thing had happened to them. It's hands up skirts, hands on bums,
hands up skirts,
but also hands on hips, hands on stomachs, arms going around your waist unexpectedly. I mean, this isn't kind of, I suppose, high level groping, but one of the strangest things was you could be talking to a man and he'd suddenly just start holding your hand.
Oh, what a creep.
It sounds like a normal night out in the pub to me.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh my God.
I like how it goes from hands up skirts to holding your hand. Well, you were groped how?
Yeah, I know. As an investigative reporter who's not a paid escort, I'm sure somebody unexpectedly holding your hand is very weird, but it's probably the best thing that happened to a
goes to
prostitute.
show the age probably of the men there, so they probably can't even get hard on like holding a woman's hand is the closest intimate thing. But the thing is, like, in my opinion, if you went there and you weren't expecting to be groped, the first time it happens, you get up and leave. You don't wait to then be groped several more times by several more men. Like,
right.
You're setting yourself up for failure. Like, and then keep repeatedly going, like working there. This is why these women don't have a leg to stand on, because you should have left, you should have reported it there and then, or just not gone back. Like, why years later are you going, oh, touch my bottom?
Yeah.
He gently took me by the hand.
Right.
It's like, it's not. Who's going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. He held your hand. That's not even the most creepy hand-holding story I've ever heard.
I wish a man would hold my
hand. Do you remember in Mick Foley's book, New Girl? Mick Foley is a professional wrestler, and he talked about
I like wrestling. I know who he is.
He's the fucking best. And he would talk about when he would travel to Europe to wrestle in the circuit over there. And he said that it was not uncommon for men to hold hands there. So he would be seeing the town, and suddenly a pro wrestler that's squiring to a romantic bistro lunch is holding Mick Foley's hand. I was like, that's fucking weird.
I have never seen that. I've traveled quite a lot around Europe, but
okay.
Maybe that's the circles he's hanging in. I don't think that has anything to do with the view from Europe.
Yeah.
Why are you doing here, bro?
Mick Foley's gay is what that takeaway is.
Mick Foley is also notorious for being the cheapest son of a bitch ever. So he was doing everything he could.
You were saying he was selling himself for a sandwich?
100%.
Okay, so we've touched on this a little bit. Her definition of groping is like wildly vague, and she never really drills down into what that actually is. Let's end this segment here with Jimmy's side. So Jimmy was celebrated for his contribution at the event. You know, anybody, like the people who hired him were very happy with his performance. For every complaining Karen, there are 10 women clamoring for his attention. It sounds like the vocal minority were some divas that thought they were more important than they were, right? This is our changing room. It's not your changing room. There's 110 people preparing for this. You didn't get your name on a star on a door. So I believe I read that in the end, this event raised about £7 million for sick and needy children. This is
Listen,
an important.
You can touch my tits for £7 million for 6 children.
Yeah.
I'll never
I mean,
complain.
this was an important
chat me
event.
£7 million, please.
Yes. We're starting a GoFundMe so Andy can touch a tit one time.
You can get the left one for free, Andy.
So throw up the last blurb here, Ed. So somebody defending a source close to Jimmy said, as far as they recall, the area was a green room for all performers and was the way through to the stage. So Jimmy had to be there. He was never anywhere that he shouldn't have been. And that rings true for me, you know, with so many, there's going to be at the comedy at the Carlson, right? Like there's ways you're going to cut through, or you're avoiding the main showroom or the lobby. There's only so many ways to get through. And for Jimmy Carr being probably one of the biggest celebrities there and performing, he had to take a certain path to stay backstage.
If he hadn't have taken a look, the headline would have been Jimmy Carr gay, didn't look at any girls.
Yeah, you're right. Jimmy Carr, big homo.
Can you imagine the other scenario though, where the stage manager comes in and goes, "Hey Jimmy, I know we're paying you to host this event, and you're a famous personality, but you're making the undercover reporter that's posing as a prostitute uncomfortable. So could you please go sit in the coat check while she tapes a recording device to her labia majora, because there's not enough room for you to be checking out all the women back here, Jimmy."
How about this, Andy? Hey Jimmy, we know you're the host of 8 out of 10 Cats, and you're a really big celebrity, but we're gonna put you over here with these nobodies who are just getting changed over here. I'm sure he was like thrilled, you know, to be a part of it. It's a charity event. Everybody's doing a little, they're compromising a little bit.
Jimmy Carr is not happy about any of these scenarios.
Okay, so that's that. It's a whole lot of nothing. You know, when Andy was just like, Jimmy Carr is kind of a pervert, I was just like, please tell me that's not true.
I mean, I'd never even heard of it. That's how like much it didn't even blow up over here. It didn't hit mainstream. Like I'd never come across that before. When you said it, I was like, oh my God, no, please don't read Jimmy.
I know.
So I've lost too many celebrities to me too.
I'm glad that it just turned out to be only this, and it was just some woman grasping at straws for a news
take
site.
A good white man down.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into what he's really guilty of.
Yeah, there's plenty of legitimate reasons to cancel people. We don't have to make them up. So that's actually in the middle. We have 3 topics here today. That was 2015 and 2018. Now here, more recently, this is a little bit more of a nothing one, but people did have a problem with it. And I think they were like demanding an apology from Jimmy Carr here. And we have a little bit of quote unquote apologizing. So we'll cover this as well. So in 2021, more recently, Jimmy's comedy special, his Dark Materials, he told a joke that he was shocked that people would have a problem with. Clip 8, Ed.
Brilliant.
So, that's great. Yeah.
So
that is akin to siding with Nazis. Obviously, that's absurd. A gypsy joke, it's akin to an Eskimo joke or an Amish joke.
Definitely, he's right.
Like a group of people that are not going to be offended by that. The most offensive thing about that is the tiny microphone. That's such a UK thing. Like,
it's awful. Like,
Ricky Gervais. Yeah. It looks like you're giving a TED talk. I don't get it. That's weird. We Americans like to have a big black phallic item in our hands when we're telling jokes. That's the American way, like the Joe Rogan way.
Yeah.
The Joel Kim Booster way. You know who that is, Joe?
No.
A very gay comedian.
All right, I passed the test. So you can see that even the way this was spun in the media, if you wanted to take if you were going to take it out of context, you can frame this to be, a problem. But you can clearly see there that he framed it in a way. He's like, this is a career ender, and we're talking about the Holocaust, like a nod and a wink and everything. Like, he knows 100% what he's doing here. So, and
people still tried to cancel him for this, even though he said it right up front that this is like a bit.
Yeah, the gypsies.
The gypsies came for him with a problem. But so here, I find it interesting that white people can't even make fun of other white people without there being an issue. Like, you can't say like Mick Crowd and Jerry rigged and I got gypped. We can say that. I don't want to hear any people of color using those terms. Okay, those are our terms, and we can say Mick and Crowd, but I don't want to hear any people of color saying them.
I'll not lie.
Well, Jerry is Germans, and so when you kind of like cobble something together real half-assed, there's a couple of terms for this, but the most PC one is jerry rigged, for the way that the Germans had to kind of fiddle things together during World War II. And I got gypped is a gypsy thing. It's a gypsy slur because I got ripped off. I got gypped. They're making fun of gypsies there.
Oh, that's good. That's going straight into my vocabulary.
So here's Jimmy explaining why that's a great joke. Well, homosexuals and disabled people, watch out, Carl.
Love putting gay.
That is a good point, though. Why should the Jews get all the sympathy? I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses are coming to bother me at my house all the time. Where's my sympathy?
This is also why I always send Andy 9/11 memes as much as I can. We got to keep it. But I think that is very important, though. What he says there is like, this is how we keep it alive. This is how it doesn't fade away. This is how you keep it front of mind and make sure that people don't forget how serious that is.
That's why I always bring up Jeremy Piven saying the N-word in Scary Movie 3.
Yeah, never forget that Jeremy Piven said the N-word in Scary Movie 3.
He was just talking about me, N-word girl.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeremy Piven was a big fan of yours. Jimmy knew that this was a blank word girl. These interview clips are coming from Development by David McIntosh. I don't know. Is he New Girl?
His
is he
famous?
Huh?
His dad's famous.
Not.
He's David McIntosh. His dad's famous.
Oh, his dad is famous. Oh, yeah. Okay. For what?
I can't remember.
Okay, not that famous. All right.
When I looked it up, I remember I was like, "Oh, I know who this is," and I won't lie, I'm totally blanked. But it is
okay. That's fine.
International subject matter correspondent, New Girl, the expert opinions.
I was like,
I've never had to be intelligent.
That's not why you're here. Don't worry about it.
But we never assume that you're not until you prove yourself.
I am extremely blonde.
But so I that was a question. I dug into him because I saw him interviewed for an hour on another podcast about podcasts or something like that, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, what's his pedigree that he gets a Jimmy Carr on his interviews Jimmy Carr? It's really irrelevant. It's really more about what Jimmy's saying on the show than it is about what David's.
This is what made me hate Jimmy Carr the person. This interview.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was so. I just can't stand people who are like think they know the world, and self-help books are the most ridiculous thing ever. It's the one person has the solution for everyone, and the way he went on in this, I was like, oh, he's not a fun guy. Like, I would never want to actually go for a meal with him now. He seems like a complete self-obsessed asshole.
Right. I think it came up on 8 out of 10. I think he went to Cambridge. I think he is like pretty smart. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, he's an Irish immigrant. He come from basically poor family, and you know he's worked his way up. That posh accent and that suit is all a facade, but he's done it, so props to him. But yeah,
I mean that explains the offensive content. You know, it explains the sense of humor wrapped up in a fake package, basically. I guess. Yeah. Okay, so on development by David, in this episode, he reflected on some of the challenges that he was faced with in the past, including the backlash from this joke. And Jimmy was ready for it, and he has a plan for the haters.
As soon as you start defending jokes, as soon as you start apologizing, you're just in a world of pain. I got a plan. There's a bit on the new special. You can't go around apologizing for jokes. They're jokes. So I've got a plan. The next time I get cancelled over a joke, the next time I upset people with a joke, I'm going to come out on the day of the cancellation. I'm going to make a statement, a public statement. I'm going to say, I've rehearsed this. I'm going to say, I'm sorry. And the people that I've offended will say, you don't really mean that apology. And I'll say, so you're saying I can say something and not mean it. Now you're getting it.
So I understand your point about like how he's like explaining the world or whatever, but that is also like I include that clip because we very much talk about free speech and being able to take a joke, and he talks about like once you start apologizing for jokes and stuff, like the apology we just covered. Brooke Schofield, and she did like 6 apologies. It's like 6 apologies. Like, I mean, do the apologies ever stop? Like, once you start, where does it end? Like, oh, the 5th wasn't enough. Maybe the 6th will do it. I mean, he's kind of speaking to that.
I think that's a good blueprint, though, for apologizing for jokes. It's like, obviously,
Ricky Gervais nailed it. When it comes to jokes, Ricky Gervais is like, you're offended. Like, it's not an offensive joke. You're offended, and that's the difference. Like, it's all personal, isn't it?
Yeah, he's the best. He's the best at it.
And you nail it. That's actually, and that's actually kind of how Jimmy wraps this up here in our last clip.
Pretty much any journalist I've ever met, I've gone, he seems all right. She seems all right. Fun people. They are. They're a fun bunch, right? They're writers. They're out there. They're fun. And then they have to write this. They know it's a joke. They know it's not a public statement. They know that they can see the irony. They're not dummies. They're intelligent people. They've got to fill a paper. So they look for 2 dummies on Twitter to go, oh, I didn't like that. Oh, we shouldn't joke about that. You can't joke about that. That's too terrible to make jokes about. Is it? The one thing that affects you is the bad thing, is it? All the other stuff, fine. Saying something's too terrible to joke about. It's like saying a disease is too terrible to treat.
Oh, how profound. But yeah,
there was somebody, though. It might have been Ricky Gervais. I think it was Dave Chappelle, though. One of his specials, they come out at the very beginning and say, I'm going to offend everyone. It might have been George Carlin. It might have been Ricky Gervais. It might have been Dave Chappelle. But over the course of the special, there was a point where I was like, oh, come on, Dave, white people aren't that bad. And I was like, oh, he got me. He did offend me. He offended everyone. He did jokes about women. He did jokes about gays. He did jokes about trans. He did jokes about white people being terrible. And that was the point. He was doing it intentionally, and it was not malicious. And when people make an abortion joke, it's only offensive to people that have had abortions, and only like certain people, but other people can laugh at it, but other people might take it the right when it hits too close to home. So it's just the nature of the subject matter. And like I said before, it's perception. Like, you're perceiving that you're offended. A lot of everybody else in the room is having a great time. So
yeah, I'll admit to catching myself. Like, I've been, Andy and I grew up Catholic. We were raised Catholic schoolboys, things like that. And, I never got molested. Never molested.
It was all consensual.
Because there was always a witness. Yeah, always consensual. But no, I mean, I obviously lost the taste for it. I don't go to church anymore or anything like that. But if people start shitting on it, I'll find my head. I'm in the middle of saying something. What?
You lost the taste for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a poor choice.
I lost the taste. I lost the taste for a priest's cock. No, but I will, like, some people be like, "Ooh, fucking Catholics, blah blah blah," and I'll be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, what do I care? It's all true." I mean, we know, but it will, like in your it'll kind of gut punch you sometimes if sometimes you have to, like, kind of.
People are the people who get offended on behalf of other people.
Yeah,
they're the worst people, the white saviors, like things like that, where you're a bit, oh well, you can't say that about them. Well, let them be upset about it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? They're the worst people being offended.
You get on with that. Okay, so all right, that's the end of that segment. Now we get into the real problem with Jimmy Carr here. Okay, so all of this stuff has been.
Before we start,
nothing.
I want to know what New Girl's opinion of. I know she knows what this is about. I didn't know anything about this until I watched some of the clips. Were people really upset about this?
No, not really. There was a few people who was slightly upset. I think it all boils down to the fact that, like, he's beloved and he didn't technically break any laws. And I think all of us, especially common folk, kind of look at it and go, well, if I could find a loophole, yeah, he came out, he apologized, he didn't make a big deal about it. And yeah, I think it helped him. I don't know if you've got clips about this, that there was, I don't know if you've heard of the band Take That.
Yeah, it's in here.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And
okay.
it helped that there was another scapegoat. So it kind of like made us all hate the other guy.
Great.
At least it's not Robbie Williams. So
let's explain to everybody.
Yeah,
else.
let's explain. So, and I'll only say that this is very similar to in when Donald Trump ran for president the first time against Hillary Clinton. She was like, he didn't pay his taxes or whatever.
We're touching all of my comments.
And Trump's like, well, that makes me smart. This is kind of the same thing with Jimmy Carr here. Okay, so throw up the screenshot here, Ed. In 2012, Jimmy Carr was exposed for participating in what was known as the K2 tax scheme, in which he was using an offshore tax shelter and paying only about 1% in taxes. So here you see the headlines. He bought an $8.5 million 8-bedroom home and he paid it in cash, didn't need a mortgage. His street credibility nosedived since his tax affairs were disclosed this week. What?
Did it really?
Yeah, it had emerged the comedian is one of thousands. So that's probably also helpful. This is kind of probably similar to like Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme, where a lot of people got ripped off by this, or there's a lot of people involved. So it wasn't like just him.
It was actually great. It was great exposure for him, if I'm honest. Loads of the 8 out of 10 cats. I think they got like a massive surge in viewers after this. So all it did was help him.
That was, I don't know if I kept that clip, but that was definitely mentioned as well.
Yeah, we have
so thousands.
But it's like Andy? the guy that's the financial planner is the person that's at fault here.
Right.
It's this was a long list of that guy's clients, and a couple of names jump out. One of them is Jimmy Carr, and it's not like he concocted this scheme.
So in the next screenshot here, pretty cut and dry, with his reputation severely damaged and public anger mounting, Carr, who is now pulled out of the scheme, said in a statement, although I've been advised the K2 tax scheme is entirely legal and has been fully disclosed to the HMRC, which is like the IRS in the UK, for anybody who might not know. I'm no longer involved in it and will in future conduct my financial affairs much more responsibly. Apologies to everyone. So we had to include this because we are, of course, all apologies. If the word appears, we're showing it there. Yeah. So
although my forensic accountant has fully insulated me from blame, I have to publicly apologize but I'm still going to go sleep on a house made of money in Zurich because, all that's all that happened to him is that he has to take shit for the rest of his life about this.
As he says, it wasn't illegal. There's no repercussions apart from public bashing, which he didn't really even get. So
yeah, it's a little embarrassing or whatever, but we'll get into that. We'll get into a lot of the embarrassment here on when we get to some of our clips coming up. But let's go back to development by David here, where Jimmy talks about the cancellation for this.
There's a couple of things about cancellation. Firstly, I got cancelled. Mine was pretty easy because we cannot forgive what we cannot punish, right? I got dragged for tax avoidance, right? So tax evasion, tax avoidance, you know the difference? Yep. 18 months in prison. So I was on the wrong side of that. Didn't do anything illegal. And then got pulled out by some fucking, Tory cunt for being morally abhorrent. I mean, fuck you, man.
So I'm pretty sure the Tory cunt he's referring to is the Prime Minister David Cameron at the time.
Yeah.
Is that the equivalent of Karen?
I guess.
New girl is a Tory cunt the equivalent of a Karen?
I want to say it's more like a Trumpy kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I researched it. Tory's kind of slang for like a conservative, Republican or, if you were on the lib side, a cuck, it would be like the equivalent of calling a lib a cuck or libtard.
I appreciate the clarification.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well,
so
to me, though, this is the equivalent of, if you have the means to figure out how to set up a tax shelter for yourself so you don't have to pay taxes. People do this all the time. Corporations do this all the time. You have the money, you figure out how to protect that money. And then if you don't have the money, you can still figure out a way to help people that do have money, set it up for them. And then there's everybody else that doesn't know how to protect their money so that they don't lose a lot of it to the government. So
the only people are mad are the people dumb enough not to think of it themselves.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And it goes back to Trump saying it means I'm smart.
Right.
I have money. I figured out a way that I don't have to pay taxes on it. It doesn't mean that I'm a criminal. And I think Trump is a scumbag, and that's why we've never seen his tax records. You're supposed to show it as like moral evidence to the public that you're a stand-up guy. He never showed it. It means he's a scumbag.
I think it's going to take a lot more than that to prove it. I
don't need any proof to know he's a scumbag. I know that.
And that's why everybody's just like, well, there should just be a flat tax, right? Like all these loopholes and all these rules and this and that. It's just like, no, everybody pays 10% and that's it. No matter how much you make, 10, whatever. Anyway, tune in next week when we discuss all the tax codes in the UK and compare them to the US.
Welcome to Tax Corner, everybody.
Yeah. What people don't know is New Girl's actually our tax attorney. Anyway, we rarely get to see people reflect on their mistakes. Like in a couple of recent episodes, Louis C.K., Dan Harmon, some other, I don't know. We've been fortunate to kind of see successful people be able to look back on their mistakes and kind of talk about what they learned. And so this is a little of that from Jimmy, clip 15.
But that to one side, I'd fucked up. I'd done something that's okay. So I went, well, I'll pay it back. Super easy, right? But some people get cancelled over stuff and it's a bit more nuanced and difficult, and you can't ever forgive them. I paid the money back. It's good, right?
Yeah, he didn't say the N word while sexually assaulting somebody. We can make good on this.
Should be good enough. It's good if for an average Joe that it would be good enough.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a celebrity,
I'm just happy with it. Like, I don't know. I don't think I know anybody who was like genuinely upset or angry or was like, oh, I'm never going to watch him ever again. Like, obviously there were people like that, but it wasn't like a mass uprising against him.
Yeah, I don't see why that would stop anybody from.
It literally just brought great material for the AA of 10 Cats, and that is the best thing from it.
Yeah, so let's get into that, because a lot of those things that you're talking about kind of did come up. So I had so many, because this was the entire show. Is it an hour-long show? I don't even know.
With breaks, basically. Yeah.
I need some context for this. What does the title mean?
It's a statistics show. It's like kind of like Family Feud, where they're like, how many people guessed this or whatever, or like.
Oh, okay. Like
So-
family, yeah, family. All right, now I get it.
Ed's kind of a fan of the show too. So
I am a fan of the show. I'm also a fan of 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown.
Oh, that's great.
Exactly. So basically, the whole point of the show is that Jimmy has a bunch of his friends come on, and they do a panel show, and then it's like, hey, here's what's in the news this week.
And then they never talk about it.
They
It's
never
fine.
talk about that. And it's just
Yeah.
like points that don't matter based on like, hey, this group of 3 people talk about this group of 3 people talk about this, and everybody has a laughing hilarity of time. So
that's how I envision our live show going. Like if we ever did this streaming. So I only bring that up because this is I asked how long the show was, because this does seem just like an hour of his friends just shitting all over him.
This specific episode literally just ended up being 90% about what had happened to him, and he does take a good rib in.
Yeah. And so we'll see a lot of that here. So in this intro part, here comes the fun. Jimmy was hosting the show at this time. At the time of this all happening, he was hosting the show. So he publicly has to come out and face the music. And this was the whole show, basically.
Hello and welcome to 8 out of 10 Cats, a show about opinion polls, surveys, statistics, and this week I'm guessing me.
Sean Locke, he's passed away last year.
Oh.
He is an incredible comedian. Like if you like Jimmy Carr's wit, you'll love Sean Locke. He is he was like the main part of that show next to Jimmy. He's incredibly funny.
Oh, okay.
yeah, they were like best friends, and they wrote together all the time, and like he was like part of Jimmy Carr's thing, and when he passed away last year, like New Girl was saying, it was just like,
and it was so sudden.
It was
well.
horrifying when he passed away.
Yeah, it's devastating. I think they did like a big night for him where like all the comedians, all like the British comedians came and did like a big fundraising night, and it was yeah.
Oh, interesting.
My
I'll have to check it out.
takeaway from that was it reminded me of when Pee Wee Herman got busted, or when Paul Rubens got busted for jerking off in the adult movie theater, and then he came out on the VMAs and said, "Heard any good jokes lately?" The perfect reaction to that scenario. I mean, that was almost as good as that. But
yeah. So here's I think there's a couple, but here's the first apology on the show for this incident.
That you've apologized.
Again, this is, he got bad advice from somebody that has been probably beating the system for years. They told him that they had it all worked out. It was going to be fine. He was going to keep more of his money, and he just got caught with his, with pants down or whatever. Isn't that what happened? It's not, he had nothing to do with it. He probably had no idea it was going on, right?
Yeah, he's not. Well, I don't know. When you've got that kind of money, you kind of probably know a little bit more about who's handling it. I think he did know. And he just, like, I think you must have the clip where he's like, I just didn't even think about getting caught. Like, when you've got that much money, he knows he can't get arrested for it, then why not just give it a go?
So this is my perception of it, is just like, okay, well, I'm writing a new special. I'm hosting this show. I'm hosting a charity event. I've got my personal life. So my accountant handles all this. I've hired somebody to handle this business for me. And they say, it's all good. So what am I supposed to do? We talk about this with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard with the dogs in Australia, right? It's just like, is it their fault that their assistant didn't get the proper visas or whatever that they're supposed to have? I hired a guy to fucking do this for me is the answer.
Exactly. I wasn't doing any research on this. I was researching New Girl's Instagram account. I said, you cover the tax fraud stuff. I'm trying to type with one hand over here.
I'm trying to figure out if this is a man or not.
You're like one of the only people who know my actual real name as well, so you could have easily have found that. I have a very unique name, so
yeah, your secret's safe with me.
Okay, so this is a bit, like I said, this goes on like the whole fucking show. So I'd super cut this one a little bit. They were all over him the whole show.
Best way to reduce stress. Best way to reduce stress, pay your taxes.
I must just say this in case the tax man is watching. Hello, I'm Jimmy. I don't think we've met.
But the thing is to remember is it's not illegal. What you did, what Jimmy did is not illegal. But then again, neither's farting in a lift, is it?
Right.
That's the real punishment for all this now. He's subjected.
All right. So in this next clip, to his credit, you know, he came off very sincere and transparent about the whole thing. Clip 19, Ed.
I could tell you about the work I do for charity, but I don't think lying's going to make this any better, is it?
Another great English comedian, by the way.
No, yeah. What's his name?
Mickey Flanagan. He does like an out tour. He's proper like Londoner. He's an ex cokehead, so he's great.
And I believe that what he was saying. I have a financial planner too, because I barely know how to pay my taxes. I don't know how to save for the future. I put it in the hands of somebody that knows. Like, I play bass guitar at my accountant's Christmas party because I know how to play bass. This guy knows how to invest my 401k in something that is going to mature for like money for my future. I don't know anything about how he fucking does it.
He's like, Andy, these Beanie Babies are not going to increase in value anymore. Just sell them.
Dude, for all I know, all my money is invested in fraud. I would have, when it comes out that I'm under arrest for tax evasion, it will be because it was completely out of my hands. So
I keep all my money in a shoebox under my bed, and that's it.
I have a much simpler. I have a much simpler strategy. It's having no money, and then you don't never have to worry about it. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about Take That at this point. So there's another. Is his name Gary Barlow?
Gary Barlow.
So he was another one kind of associated with. So I know they're like a boy band. The more
very famous English boy band. They were around a long time ago. They split up and then they got back in the 2000s. You know, like a bunch of middle-aged men that should definitely not all be singing and dancing together on stage. It was a little bit.
Yeah, NSYNC's doing it now.
All the 40-year-old women were creaming in the knickers for it.
Yeah, exactly. So Andy might know, like Robbie Williams was in Take That. So he was like kind of in America, I would say Robbie Williams is kind of more of the more famous one that people might know.
The Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, right.
This is the equivalent of my Mick Foley wrestling story. I don't know anything about what you're talking about.
But so anyway, here's a little bit about the other celebrity involved in this. So I had to keep that line because I was killer. Yeah, I don't know. Look up the first song that pops up. You'll know.
Yeah, you'll definitely recognize
that. Back for Good. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, he's an English sweetheart. That's what it is. Like, I mean, I think he's Irish anyway, but he's a British sweetheart. Everyone loves Gary. I mean, it's not my style of music whatsoever. So, but yeah, I can see why they.
Yeah, Gary Barlow is like the talent. Robbie Williams was like the face man, and yeah. But you know, and
your fans, Joe, Jesus,
and you can play us out with "Back for Good," and so you'll know it. You'll know it if you hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this one, we have have to squeeze in all the apologies here. Plus, I found it necessary to include as much of Georgie Thompson in as I could here.
That's great. Yeah, so, this is his punishment for this level of a crime. It's just you have to listen to people bring it up over and over again for the rest of your life.
Yeah, luckily I
keep all your money.
Comedians are uniquely qualified to weather something like this. You know, you have to have a sense of humor. You know, you've been made fun of, criticized, you know, by your friends or by bullies when you were a kid or something like that. But you need to have a sense of humor about yourself. And if you're going to make it through something like this. So yeah, comedians are uniquely qualified to weather something like this. So
Sorry, have
in
you seen the Dabbleverse?
yeah,
There's a few comedians in there that could learn a lesson.
yeah, no, Stuttering John. That's why Stuttering John's not a comedian.
Yeah.
He's not uniquely qualified to weather anything. So final thoughts here. Here's some wisdom from Jimmy about this.
Being cancelled is a filter, and you find out who your friends are.
Yep.
And that's very painful in a way, but you don't have to waste your life on the people that are fair weather friends, the people that are there in tough times. Right, we're good, we're ride or die. And you don't get to find out until that shit happens. It's surprising. People that throw you under the bus, and the people that are a little bit gleeful and, oh, he's been brought back down to, yeah, okay. Let's see, it's a long road.
I do demand an apology from Jimmy for saying ride or die there. You're not fucking Jay-Z or whatever, Leave that one in the streets, Jimmy. But that's the end of the Jimmy Carr controversies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that leaves us to roll it back to the beginning and decide whether or not we accept or reject these apologies from Jimmy Carr. So the undercover prostitution sting where Jimmy was in a dressing room at the wrong time. Does anybody blame him for that?
No, I'd have looked more.
No, I give him.
Sorry for party rocking.
Yeah, he was just party rocking.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the next one? The joke.
The
Nobody,
Holocaust.
come on. He should never apologize for that. In fact, he gave us the blueprint for not apologizing for jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, anytime somebody says you should apologize for a joke, they should just do what
Sarcastic apology.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tax stuff, I still say he didn't even know what was going on. That's not his fault.
No.
He was caught up.
You know what? I didn't know where I cut so much. Like, obviously I said they were all over him the entire episode. So I had to just start making cuts, and saying this one is just not relevant. But one of the things that got brought up by one of the panelists there was that David Cameron, the prime minister at the time, was all over him because of like funding for like hospitals and healthcare and stuff like that. And if they don't have the tax money, then they can't afford to pay these people or keep them on staff or probably fund shit like that. So that would have been like kind of the more serious side of why it was kind of a big deal, or at least a big deal in the news anyway.
I love when I start trying to wrap up the show and you just launch into some serious digression. It's not funny. It's like, well, yeah, well, it was all very serious. Let's not forget. Instead of saying he became wildly more popular and kept all his money.
You're right, Andy. Fuck taxes and fuck the government. I don't know what I was thinking.
You stepped on my drop, asshole.
I'm by winning. I win there, win there. That one.
Yeah.
Because by winning.
More Charlie Sheen, less me.
There's only one thing that I don't forgive Jimmy Carr for, and that is writing a shitty self-help book. I will never forgive him for that.
I'm not going to forgive him for his hair dye.
He reminds me of what's the books now with the scary books, and there's the dolls. And it's like, don't call me a dummy.
The Goosebumps.
Yes, the dummy from Goosebumps. That's exactly what he looks like now.
Yeah. He's definitely had an evolution of a look going on.
There is a lot of Botox going on in that man. He's going to have to be recycled when he dies. He's full of that much plastic.
Yeah. That most recent Netflix special looks like there's a lot of foundation on caked onto that man. So whatever, good for him. He can afford it.
Well, you think you could afford a bit better.
Well, a new girl, you're my new favorite person in the Dabbleverse. So you're even more important than the people that support our show financially. People like Kyle, Evan. Oh, wait, this is the free tier members. Fuck them. I need the paid tier members.
Call that out.
Dr. Steve, Yeah, Linda, Trevor, and Jackie, SJ, Ray Guitard, Harry, Zoe, Kate, Tony, Bad at Karate, Waylon, Notorious Cretin, Brian, Orange Julius, Sean Savage, Principled Uncertainty. Special shout out to Principled Uncertainty.
He's over on your side of the world.
He's
He
an
is,
Iron. Yeah. Hunter Duke, Nicola, Boslim, Kyle, Aaron, Tigran, Fun Kilo, Leo. Hall & Oates was all over the Patreon this week. They're catching up. I appreciate that. The Negative Creep, Simon, and again, New Girl. I can't thank you enough. I hope you had fun. Did you have fun?
I have had a great day. It was so worth being up at midnight.
Yeah. And I know you guys have a lot going on. Joe, go ahead. What?
I said thanks for classing up this show.
I've never been accused of classing something up before, but I'll take it.
Well, when you're on screen with these two, it's hard.
Yeah, it's a low bar.
Yeah. But do you have anything that you would like to plug?
Yes. So me and, as you say, JJ are starting to do a show very soon. And it will be under JJ Dabbles on YouTube. It will be changing eventually, but for now it's going to be on there. And then I am on X at New Girl 92, and then all the updates will be on there for everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. It's the only thing that got me on Twitter. I wasn't even paying attention to Twitter and X until New Girl started adding me about calling her out. So now I'm fully in. But
yeah, when you see artificial impunity, that'll be me reaching out to connect with you.
Oh, that's your name on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Changed it.
So everybody that's listening to this now, you can find Joe Six Pack there. And you can find us at All Apologies Podcast on Instagram. I encourage everybody to please go like and comment on everything that we have going on there, as well as on YouTube. And please consider supporting the show financially on Patreon for just $5 a month. We have bonus content every week and free content if you just want to join for free. So check out the Patreon there. So for New Girl and Joe Six Pack, I'm Trucker Andy saying,
stay sorry.